Before I get too carried away with the undercarriage wheelbase, I got a bee in my bonnet the other day, thinking, well, I need to do something about this. I was just test fitting the nose and the what's this? What are these? The cowl flaps on the fuselage, just to see what it looks like. And I thought to myself, yeah, you know what, I could probably do with adding a bit of detail to the inside of this thing. So a fairly prominent detail on the inside of the cowl flaps is the actuators. And what it is, it's a series of little levers that are pushed down with a spring, and there's the cable that runs through them. And what that does is that when that cable is pulled tight, the cowl flaps are then pulled towards the springs, and they're closed. So to open them, they then release the tension on the cable, and they open up. Seeing as I had no intention of scratch building them out of little bits of styrene rod, getting them all perfectly the same size and invariably ruining them, I decided that seeing as I have a couple of 3D printers at my disposal, I'll use one of those. I've got two anycubic photons, so I tasked one with making these things. It took me about half an hour or so to model the parts up, using a reference that I found on the internet, together with some references in some books of mine, and I got the shape more or less correct. Thing is, though, these are 3.9 millimeters long. They're really tiny, and as you can see, I mean, whoop, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. They are, I mean, that's it sitting on my fingertip there. Focus. There we go. So it's more or less all there. So what you've got here is, at the back, see, that is the spring, and that's the pulley. That that runs along the inside. And there's some pivots on there. It's hard to see in this light because the resin at this thickness is very translucent. Now you can sort of see spring there. It's pretty translucent, so you can't really get a good feel for what's going on. Maybe if I turn off one of these lights there, that might help. You can get a bit of shadow on there. You can sort of make out the coiled spring shape. I mean, I didn't add a spring coil. Just put the basic bulk in there. So yeah, that's that. I'm quite pleased with these. So that's those. I printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 35 of them. I only need 16, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, yeah. I've also gone ahead and thinned the cowl flaps down a bit, just giving these a bit more of a thinner edge on them. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll fit 1 or 2 of them. Now, what I have to do is, because they're all mounted. Oh look, you can get it. Yeah, that's it. You can get it. If I turn this light off, get a better view. Not really. Just changes the ISO. Yeah. Because they're mounted in that little corner, I have to sort of like try and sand that little corner flush. But thankfully, this stuff sands fairly easily. So I'll just get a emery board there. And the reason I made 35 of them is so I can ruin a couple, which I invariably will do as things I want to do. If you look very closely, you can see the gap between the two components. So, how am I going to do this? Well, I guess I will just, you can also just see the little nubbin on the back there. That's, I'll have to gently grab it there, hope for the best. I mean, professionally sand it. Obviously, I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm sure you've got better things to do than watch me sand tiny, tiny things. I'll just do one or two, fit them, and then we'll move on to the undercarriage in a moment. Or in fact, we'll move straight on to the undercarriage. Like a complete idiot, I stayed zoomed in and recorded about 13 minutes of footage that wasn't in frame at all. You just end up looking at the emery board and a couple of resin pieces on the table while everything happens out of frame. Anyway, so this is what the end result is. These 16 little actuators went on quite nicely with a little dab of super glue. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So yeah, let's move on to the undercarriage, and I'll chalk this one up to a learning experience, or rather an experience that I should know better. Anyway, moving on. Well, alrighty then. It's time to start with the wheelbase. There's a few issues with these wheelbase. Is that they don't entirely match up with my references that I've got here. Now I've got this. Well, I've got several books, but the one I'm looking at the moment is the Detail and Scale book, which has some nice close-ups of the main gear base. And you'll notice that on the inboard side of the wheelbase, it's actually open, and that is not so the case on this thing. Also, while this little what would be the actual proper word for this? Junction box, as it were. My brain's not working right now, and I'm not big on hydraulics, so that little junction there is present, but it's either too far towards the top of the spar, or there's not enough space underneath it. Either way, they don't quite line up. So I'm going to have to do some compromises when it comes to some of the detail in here. As the pistons are molded in, I can't really get cables and hoses and whatnot behind them. So I'm going to have to compromise there by fudging it a bit. Also, there's a significant amount of space not present because of the thickness of the plastic. On the real thing, what you're looking at there is the underside of the top of the wing. So yeah, I'm gonna have to just sort of wing it. Wing it. Terrible terrible jokes aside, what I have done already is I've installed the photo etch pieces before closing the wings up. They're broadly what's in the actual thing. So I'm not going to get too. Yeah, they're good enough for now. They'll do. I think if I do this type of aircraft again, which is not unlikely since I've invested so much time in making bits for them, I'll probably look into replacing the wheelbase with something a bit more accurate. Now, what am I going to do? I think I will start by adding some 0.2mm lead to the back wall of the. Well, when I say back wall, I mean the back of the main spar. When I was the part of can't speak. The hoses I'll start putting in. I'll see if I can simulate this detail of all these things going around the back. Can't replicate it because the stuff's these things are all molded in place. I could have removed them from said bulkhead. I mean, from the spar, but to be honest, I only realised this. Excuse me. I only realised this when I got the book. After the book arrived, after I got the wings glued together. So yeah. Screw it, let's see what we can do. We've got, if I'm going to be pedantic about it, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hoses that go from there, sorry, from here, around the back, and then up there. Then there's another one, another 2, one that goes along there, underneath there, and through here. And then one that goes through there, another one that goes there. And then finally, we have, where does that one go? That one goes into here. Yeah, there's that one that goes into the bottom of that guy with another one going there. So, yeah, let's start with those. Now I've got some 0.4, 0.5 and 0.2mm lead wire. I think the 0.4 might be a bit on the thick side. The 0.2 might be a bit on the thin side. But I also have some 0.3 styrene. Styrene. Which I will use for this. So I'm just looking at the reference photo here. It's upside down by comparison. No, I'll tell you what, I'll just turn the book upside down. I have the book on my lap because that's the same orientation. Oh, it's not the same. It's the only place I can put the damn thing. Okay, the one line. There's two here that are relatively thick, which is this one at the bottom, and then one just above it. So for that, I'll use some 0.4 lead. I think going to see what happens. I mean, the odds of ever seeing this is going to be quite slim, because I'll be standing on the legs. What annoys me is that my my nice tweezers have disappeared. Don't know where they've gone. I've just ordered two sets of fine electronics tweezers on Amazon. See, now that's an issue, because if I do this, it all butts up against that. It doesn't give you a sense of depth. It gives you a sense that everything's sprouting through that thing. So, you know what, guys, I'm gonna have to just compromise on this. I'm going to add the cables that matter, which are the hydraulic lines that run from here to here. Just give you a zoom in on that one. So the hydraulic lines run from there to there, and then the lower ones go from nubbins just below there, and then there's a line that goes from here underneath there to there, and then from there over there. So those will be the only ones I'll be installing, which is a bit annoying, but it is what it is. So let me start with creating the banjos that sit up against the main spar. So if you look here, upside down, there we go. So these are the banjos and the main spar that go to the lower end of those pistons. So I'll be putting in that one, putting in this one, that one, then this line to there, and that line out of there. If there's space, I'll add another one going underneath there. Only if there's space. I'm going to focus on the main ones first. So all this stuff here and here will just have to not exist on this aircraft. This stuff is there, that stuff is there. So yeah, I am going to make those banjos. Now what I'll use for that is some styrene rod, which I have some here. See if I can find the right thickness. What is this? What is it? 0.6. Perfect. Exactly what I was after. I'll take a length of this. I'll use that for the banjos that go underneath there and then up there. I'll say that. But will it work? Will they fit? Yeah, only just. Actually, do I have any 0.5? Scratch around in here. What would be handy is if I actually organise this stuff, but you know me. There we go, 0.5 mil. Look at that. Beautiful. It's weird how there's such a marked difference in diameter when you put them next to each other. Yoop. Yeah, that's good. Use that instead. So these will go there and Oh, here they are. Just right in front of me the entire time. Nevertheless, no matter, I'm going to get some more of these. Because I keep losing the damn things. Well, that went fun. Quite pleased with the cowl flap actuators. This morning I got a message from a chap who said he'd asked to do them in 30-second scale as well. I said, well, no, because I don't have a 30-second scale aircraft to get decent measurements off of. Oh, okay, cool. I'll just take 2 sets for a 48 scale aircraft. Okay, cool. So I did those and I reprinted some seat frames for him. So I'm going to give him the whole lot that I made for a reasonable price. I haven't worked it out yet. The idea was always, or sort of been brewing for a while, is that I would make resin upgrade bits using my nifty little 3D printer. But I haven't actually, I'm just going to zoom out for this, I haven't actually geared up for that yet. Because it's sort of sitting at work thinking about this and should I, shouldn't I, and then of course work just gets massively in the way. You get distracted and with having to do your job and all that sort of stuff, and I just haven't really thought about it, so I haven't really put much time into gearing up for it. But it looks like I should probably do that. I need to work on costs and whatnot. Thing is, though, is that I don't particularly feel like having it as my main source of income. I just don't have the time or inclination to be a reliable source of components. I'll do the one-off or one or two, but I don't want to disappoint people. That's my main thing. I don't consider myself reliable enough to hit deadlines when it comes to what is essentially a hobby of mine. A friend of mine asked me to 3D print him a set of Ecto goggles, my own design. And the poor chap's been waiting for well over a year for me to finish them. There's only a few pieces left, but I've just taken so long. That's why I don't really want to get into doing large numbers. I want to keep it very much a hobby thing. Otherwise, people will get disappointed and upset, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm just using Tamiya extra thin just to moisten the area that I'm going to be gluing these things into, and then using these fine tweezers to place them. Another thing is that I will only really be making parts for kits that I'm working on that I feel need upgrading, because at the end of the day, you know, you fund this yourself, and it's not, I don't think it's the hugest market for a bloke like myself. So I'll really just focus on the stuff that I've got in the stash, which is why I'm not doing a 32nd scale Corsair components list, because I just simply don't have the 32nd scale Corsair in my collection. Plenty of Sky Raiders though, which include a the Matchbox Revell AD5, which I intend to make an entire cockpit for. That might be one that I'll actively market, because there's no the cockpit itself in the aircraft, in the kit, is well, it comes from the 70s, 60s, 70s. It's a really old mold. It's really lacking. So I'm going to look at doing that one. Right. 0.3, I think it might be. Yeah. I'll start at the bottom. So the ones that the little banjos are just glued in there. I will I'll connect up first using the 0.4 lead wire, lead solder. These would need some banjos as well. Let me just adjust the framing on this. There we go. I think I'll do that first. Add a few more bits of the... Where'd I go? Oh, here we go. Bits of that. So I need to add those to the top and bottom. They're not huge, so get away with like 3/4 mil sections. Apparently I talk too much in my videos. Let me clarify this for some of you guys. Is that I'm not doing these videos as I would say, I don't do it for likes or views or subscribers or stuff like that. I do them because I find it relaxing, and I like to share my techniques, if you can call them techniques, and if I can help someone or inspire someone, then that's fantastic. But I'm not out to actively go and get numbers or likes or things like that. I'm just not wired that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need more of those. You know, I have no intentions on being an influencer or whatever you want to call these things. I'm just too old for that. Don't have the time nor the energy or inclination. Getting to do this is 3, 4, 5, 6 is it's a therapy thing. Helps me unwind. And I'm sure there's plenty of other guys out there I'd feel the same way. I think the last time I checked, I've only got what's it? A few hundred views on my videos, if that. Which is fine. I mean, I'm glad that at least anyone watches. Yeah, it'd be great to have millions of people watching these videos, but at the end of the day, it's you're watching a guy glue model airplanes together. It's not exactly the X factor. Although to be fair, I'd rather watch paint dry than the X factor. Did I put glue on this one or the other one? Well, it's sticking to this one, so I'm guessing it's this one. It's just no good telly on. Except, it's Dark Materials. Watch that, end of the year. HBO and BBC. Shameless plug. I'll put a link in the description to the trailer. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. Season 2 at the moment. It's looking good. That's all I am going to say. Other than watch it. A lot of people worked very hard on these shows. I suppose just even this little bit of detail helps just liven up the wheelbase. I couldn't not add anything to them after I added those Cowl flap actuators to the engine. Oh, by the way, I have ordered a quick boost replacement engine. Not that there's anything wrong with this one, it's just that I'm going to go through the effort of adding those small details at the back of the engine. The least I could do is just spruce up the front of it as well. See, the engine has various components that sit on the bell housing, which are these here. But because it's molded top down, top bottom, they're supposed to be round separate objects, but they're just flat like that. Now, granted, the engine does sit fairly deep in the cowling, but it does need to be done. Which reminds me, I need to do the little braces that go on the inside of here. Almost there. Those are going to be a tricky one to model because it's a hard one to measure without actually sawing the cowling to pieces. Just need to get in there. Where'd that go? Ah, there it is. I'm trying to debate what to do next. Should I do another aircraft? Should I do some armor? Because I've got some nice 48 scale armor kits. Or should I do that HK tank? The Hunter Killer. Oh, damn it. But for that one, I need to print a lot more tracks. Or, in fact, all of them. So far, I've only just done a test. Although I suppose they don't have to go on immediately. Essentially, it's just a big, giant silver thing. So it should be a relatively easy build. Nice little shift of gears from this thing, which I'm no doubt going to ruin in the paint stages. Speaking of painting, I've got to think about what colour I'm going to paint these wheelbays. There's this whole debate about the actual colour of the bays. Were they all salmon pink? Were they green? Were they same colour as the fuselage, as the underside of the aircraft? So this would have been an insignia white or off-white. It's one of those things that, one of those debates that just goes on and on and on and on. Now, they pulled a Corsair out of Lake Erie, I believe, and that was a earlier birdcage model. And that very much had a pink interior, pink primer. Again, all the opinions are divided on it. Were they all that way? Was some green? Did they switch over to zinc chromate, or what happened? So I'm just gonna do a little bit more research, because helpfully all these books are black and white and have different model aircraft across their pages. So I picked up this one, and that's a birdcage again. Well, that's not it. Well, there's a birdcage on the cover. But yeah, it needs a little bit more research. The instructions say paint them zinc chromate, so I may just run with that for simplicity. Or I paint them white like the undersides. Who shall tell? Cool. Well, I'm just going to let these harden for a bit and then come back to placing those parts. So, right, these should have had enough time to set. Right, before I cable up the bottom ones, I need to put the hose in that goes from this point. Let me zoom in. And the hose that goes from this point under here, the lower of the junction there, to that way. And then the other side goes up and over that way. For the inboard section, I will use some 0.4 lead solder, lead wire. What I'm going to have to do is cut it in such a... Although I could sort of jam that under there and it'll be alright. Yeah, I'll do that. Just cut it to the approximate length it needs to be. Because it's lead, I can sort of mush it around. Yeah, here you go. Go wider again. Jam that in there for a sec. Come on. Shorter sections it is then. Fine, be that way. Oh, come on. Right. Should have left enough of a mark to get a decent idea of where I need to cut. Let's just double check the length of that. Yeah, a little bit less. Or move a little bit more. What I'll do is I'll cut it at an angle so that it'll disappear underneath that gas pit or hydraulic piston a bit better. There. Okay, trusty old super glue. First cut the one for the other side as well. There we go. Wedge that one in there, and this one will get the same treatment. Yeah, get off. Now, while that side dries, I will attempt to pull this up and pull this guy up and line it up with that lower union. That. There, cool. Little dab of super glue on there. A sec. With, what am I going to apply this with? This old blade. That's one. Let's do the same on the other side. There we go. Cool. That's one. That's two. I think the rest of it will have to go from behind here, behind there, and then disappear up under there as well. Guesstimate this amount. Probably guesstimated wrong. Well, there's a nice little void in there, so I'll put that in, that side in there. I can it doesn't go that far. Don't want it going over that hose. So what I'll do, just snip it there with this. It's not the best to apply. Oh, I don't think I need more of this anymore, so just use the leftover styrene rod to help glue things. Oh, dab, dab, dab there, and bring the line back in. There. Photo just in the way. Okay. And then a little bit on the other end. push that back into there. A little bit of glue under that. The photo etch pinged loose just now. It's tricky to get to in here. I should have probably done this prior to gluing the wings together. But ho-hum. They're big enough wheelbase, so it's fine. So it probably should have been better prior. Yeah. Well, that's one successfully done. Do the same on this side. Cut a short section off. That one went easier. Trying to overlap that cable, but meh. It does look like it continues behind that the hydraulic piston, which is nice. That's what we're after. That could do with a bit of fixing. The old glue. There. Visual interest. Cool. Now the line coming out the other side appears to be thinner. Let me just check my reference. It is, but not for much. I'll still use the 0.2, just to, again, a bit of interest. Should I? So I've also got 0.3 styrene. I could use that instead. Yeah, I'll use that. It's also equally bendy. And as susceptible to super glue as the other stuff. But in the reference, it goes from there and bends up and over through a plate, but that plate is non-existent. So what I'm going to do is, you can't quite make it, you might be able to make it out. Just in here, you can see that little thing about there. I'm going to glue that in there first, and then bring it down and over. And I'll cut it to length as appropriately. So a bit of CA. Styrene and superglue really like each other. So that's a nice big dollop on there, and whammy. Just kind of snip this a little bit shorter so it's not so cumbersome. There we go. So the same on the other side. Cut it first. Same again. Just feed it into here. So that can be a lot shorter. I think I'll help soften it using some Tamiya extra thin. I'll break down the styrene a bit, make it more bendy. So I'm gluing it to the bulkhead, or the spar, which is helpful. Finally. Right. Let's maneuver this into position. Just like that. There. Downside to using this stuff is that it becomes a bit of a wet, sticky noodle. Yeah. It's got the consistency of a hot marshmallow now. Yeah, I'll just leave that because there's going to be cables and other stuff going over here as well. At least another hydraulic line. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Just cut that off, thinking that it was going to be remotely the same length. A fool that I am. Tell you what. Just put a little dab of super glue underneath here. Hopefully help it sit. He says, hopefully. Right. Even not having all the details in there is something. At the end of the day, how often are you going to display your model upside down? Screw it. I think super glue is just working a lot better at the moment. It doesn't help when this is really, really thin. When it's soaked with Tamiya extra thin, it just turns it into, like I said, like wet spaghetti. Yeah. Okay, this one's really trying my patience now. There we go. Oh, come on. Right, let's take some drastic measures on this one. Oh, sure, now you glue. Now you decide to set. Right. There, that helped. A bit of zip kicker. Okay, really frustrating there. Oopsie. All right. Can't talk with it. Tweezers in my mouth, or no, tweezers in my mouth. So let's get this over here, lined up and tacked in. That was a pain, but there it is. So there's that line and that line. I'm going to take a break at the moment because it is quite late here. But in a moment I'll return to this video and I will start laying in the components that sit on top of that. So bear with me, I'll be back in a sec. Alright, so that was weird. Turns out that the clip I was just recording didn't record. I did, however, record me setting my stuff up here, which is not very interesting. Very strange. I'm not sure how that happened. Anyway, let me go over what I've done so far. Is that in between last night and now, which is the previous shot and this one, I was reading up on the on the Corsair, and the Tamiya kit, while very accurate, is missing a few things. Well, not missing a few things. There's one or two things not quite right. One of them being there's a fuel tank in the leading edge. It has the filler cap there, which I've filled and sanded and re-riveted, and it's been moved to here. To this panel. Same goes for this side as well. So that's been filled, sanded, re-riveted, and now that is the new filler cap. And what I've also done now, this is just until I realized I was not recording, is I have just added, see if you can see it, this piece of lead wire here, and cut it to length, and this one here, which is the lower line for pushing the pistons out. I've used some 0.4mm lead wire for that. And what I was also saying is that I'm thinking for one of my next videos, because I use so much photo etch and aftermarket stuff and 3D printed parts, I think for the next one, what I'll do is do a video of creating a model using stuff I find around the house, stuff I find at the local supermarket, not use any aftermarket materials at all, and just to show that what you can do with regular bits and pieces that are available to you, if you don't have the budget or availability, the access to third-party aftermarket parts. So I will find an appropriate model in my stash, or I might even go out and get a old basic kit, see what we can do with that. Just see what you can do to spruce things up. An example being using, say, painter's tape for seatbelts. wine bottle foil is also a good one for that. Simple things. This modelling doesn't have to cost much. Granted, you've always got the outlay of paints and glues and tools, but that's a initial capital, and it's something that you buy once, maybe twice, and then you're good to go. And this needs more glue. So yeah, I'll get some. I'll go to the local pound shop, or what in the Americans would call the dollar store, and get super glue there and things like that. See what I can find there, just so you can, as I said, just to show that you don't necessarily need all these fancy schmancy third party products to create a half decent looking model. Which, you know, it can be off-putting, because I was chatting to a friend of mine the other day, and he said, you know, the local model club and their competitions, it basically comes down to how much money you've thrown at a model to win a prize. It's can be disheartening, because, you know, he's not everyone has the means to do that, and it just sort of, it can be demoralizing to just know that a competition can be biased against you if you don't have all that that sort of stuff piled into your kits. It shouldn't be like that. It doesn't have to be. You can take all the fun out of it. There we go. These are a bit hard to see, but once they're picked out with some appropriate colours, they'll be quite nice. So that's those. I'm going to do the other side now, which can be a little bit shorter. Cut these at I don't know, about 8mm long, so I can make these about 5 or 6. I've actually made these a little bit on the short side now. They need to go from this post to this post, but just so there's enough in there so they can get a nice little curve in them. I think it's a little bit on the short. No, it might be all right. Might be all right. Come on, you know you want to. There, I'll let that sit there for a second. Think about what it's done. cool. Half the audio track of this is going to be me holding my breath. Which is always an attractive thing to listen to. There we go. I'm looking at the reference here, and there's a nice little kink or bend to them all. I'll show that off just now. Get this one in as well. There we go. So that's the bottom hoses in, and the hydraulic line behind them. All I need to do is add these top lines from there to there, there to there, there, and I'm going to call this done, because that'll give us enough detail in there to be satisfactory, and just give you enough sort of like to look at, a bit of depth to everything. And then once this is done, I'll call this video a day. And then I think the next one probably be the engine. Although I might, I don't know. I keep saying what I'm going to do next, and then just completely go the other direction, or forget it, or something. So we shall see. I'll finish this video by installing these lines, and then just take it from there. Is that going to be long enough? Yeah, that's good, because then again there's a nice amount of kinknosity in the hoses. Let me show you. So these are the ones we're talking about, the black ones. There's some good bend to them. It's a good thing I looked at that, because I noticed that they attached 90 degrees to the unions, not straight in like the bottom ones. Unions? What do you call them, unions? I don't know. the things with the stuff. So let me try this. Right. Yeah, where that? Okay, that went walkies. Oh no, here it is. Yeah. I'll take this opportunity to just give this a little bit of a 90-degree-ish bend. So that's set for a moment. Right, fine, do it that way. Let's take some of these, because they're, it's just not, okay, recut that one. My bad. There. I just had to recut that one because I just snapped it off in this thing. And again, that's not supposed to happen. Let's try that one again. Let's not use these then. It should be able to work. I guess I'm just putting too much pressure on the parts. There. Okay, once more for safety. Gently bend that around there. That's better. There. Go back to this side. So I'm just accidentally tapping the side of my phone with my glasses as I get too close. I'm trying to keep all this in frame. As it turns out, it's glasses frame. Terrible. Keeping it lit would be nice. Here we go. Right, let's do the same for the other side. Maybe a little bit on the long side. This is going to be another painfully long video, isn't it? May have actually cut this one a little bit on the short side now. That's all right. Well, there we go. That's the last one in. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do quite nicely, I reckon. Yeah, so we've got those. And those. There you go. That's it for now. I'm going to have a look and see what else needs to be done, but I think as far as the undercarriage is concerned, or main gear bays, that's that. Although it does depict a bar that goes across. Not entirely sure what that's for, but it's not in here. Don't know. I'll skip it. It's fine. As I said earlier, I'm not inclined to display my models lying on their backs. Or am I? Can I put that across there? Probably could, you know. I'm talking to myself here, but I'll show you what I'm on about. Is that this here? This would be a cable that runs across there. Anyway, this thing. I suppose I could replicate that with what have I got? With some styrene rod. Got some 1/2 mil here. What else have I got? Yeah. Too big. Probably too big as well. What's this? Too square. This is a definite maybe. What's this? Too flat. What's this? That's a 1/2 mil. Also maybe. It's a square. Brass. That's people. 1.1 mil. Too big. Too big. Anything else left in here? No, that's about it. My plastic drawer. That's too small. Let's have a look. What are we looking at here? We're looking at a rod roughly the same diameter as the spars or the ribs that go through there. Let's see. I guess that would be the 0.9. Is it? At 0.6, that would be even better. I don't think I've got that though. It's a bit on the thick side. So look at the 0.5. Yeah, that could work. Let's cut some lengths of this. There we go. .6. Never mind that. I'll go with this. I thought I had some. I knew I had some. Used some the other day. I used it on. Of course, I used it the other day. I used it on all those unions. What am I talking about? Right. How are we going to do this? So it has to fit in here and there. I'm going to make a guesstimate and say it needs to be about this long. There. See what it looks like in there. Just so we're all clear on this. It runs on the same panel that meets the what's it, the main spar. Which puts it roughly about there. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. Cut a little bit off. If it doesn't fit, kids, I'll just leave it out. I won't tell if you won't. Oh, come on. There appears to be some dimensional inaccuracies with these bays. Just, you know, comparing them to the reference images. I said this earlier, that it's pretty much down to the fact that that isn't the thickness of the real aircraft skin, which would be a lot thinner than that. Yeah, that's fine. I'll leave it as is. Which is fine. And with that, I'm calling it for this episode. I'm quite pleased with this, regardless. It's made the wheelbase look a little bit busier, a little bit more interesting, especially from an angle that you'll be seeing it at. Sadly, we won't be able to put all the detail in that I'd like to do, because that would have involved a fair amount of surgery, removing those pistons and scratch building new ones. I also just wanted to move on, you see. So yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching and sticking with me until the end of this painfully long video. And yeah, catch up with me next time, and we'll see whatever we're going to be doing next. Which could be anything, I suppose. So yes, thank you very much.